Okay, this is IM1 and this is 5-1. This is the homework problems, and I just wanted to do a few so that you kind of got an idea of how to do them. All right, so if we start at number 1, we have 13 to the 0 power. We know anything to the 0 power is equal to 1, so we can just write it like that. And we can say anything to the 0 power is 1. Down here we have 3 over 3 to the negative 4th. So when it's a negative, we know that we need to bring it to the other side of the fraction. So that's going to be 3 times 3 to the 4th, which is going to be 3 to the 5th. And you can work that out if you want to, but I'm a little less concerned with that. All right, here we have negative 7 to the negative 2. So what we know is that's actually negative 1 times 7 to the negative 2. Whenever we have whenever we have a negative exponent, that's the same as we need to put it in the other side of the fraction. So that's going to be negative 1 over 7 squared, or 1 over 49. We have negative 6 to the 0 power, and that's the same as 1. We have 1 over 8 to the 0 power, which is the same as 1 over 1, which is 1. We have negative anything to the 0 power, which is negative 1 times, when the negative is on the outside of the parentheses, it's a times a negative 1, times 11x to the 0 power, which is the same as negative 1 times 1, which is negative 1. We're going to get into variables down here. We have 3 times m to the negative 8, and p, it's hard to see, but that's to the 0 power. So we know that p to the 0 power is equal to 1. And we know that this needs to just switch sides. So that's going to be 3 over m to the 8th. All right, as we get down here, we're looking at exponents that need to switch sides. So on top we have negative 3k to the negative 3, and then we have mn to the 3rd, and then underneath we have p to the negative 8. So if I just use a colored pencil here, I know that this one's going to need to switch, and this one's going to need to switch places. But the other ones, the exponents say they're in the right spot. So we'll have negative 3. I'm just going to scoot this over because it doesn't need to move. mn to the 3rd. And we're going to bring p to the 8th up to the top, and all of it's going to be over k to the 3rd. All right, so for number 17, we have 8 to the negative 2, we have q to the 3rd, and we have r to the negative 5. So again, we know that the ones with the negative exponents need to switch fraction sides. So we'll leave the q to the positive 3 up at the top. And then underneath, we'll put 8 squared and r to the 5th. And if we want to go ahead and solve for 8 squared, that's one that we probably need to have memorized. So that's q to the 3rd over 64 r to the 5th. And then if we do 19, again, all we're doing, we have a lot of variables. We can just circle the ones that need to swap places. And I'll even mark the one that's just going to turn into a 1. So we know this is just going to turn into a 1. So we're going to have 11 at the top. It'll be times 1, so I don't need to put that in there. X stays where it is because it doesn't have any negative exponent. V is going to come up to the top with a 3rd, and it's all going to be divided by y. And you can put to the 1st or you can leave it off.